Do, 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 do. And there we go. How are you? So we're just getting started. Again, my name is Mike, and what we do here every night, pretty much, is for an hour every night, we look at screenwriting videos. And I've watched so many of these things, but I think it just gets you in the right mindset to write. And you can write while we watch the videos or watch the videos. But basically, just trying to build an audience here of folks who are into screenwriting, would benefit from an hour a day of just a live stream where I'm putting up streaming screenwriting videos and giving you a place where you can write. So um, let's do that. Yeah, our production company is called Vision Mage, and it's myself and my friend Dan. And Dan is located in Argentina, and I'm here in Rhode Island. Um, but we're just getting started, and figured this is the best way to build an audience, doing live streams on YouTube. Un momento. Interesting. So, staying away from these 8 sequences of the hero's journey. I think the hero's journey is great, and it's something that everybody should learn, but we're not going to go over it really because I think it creates generalized stories, and I think it kills creativity. I think you should tell whatever story that you want, almost in any way that you want to tell it. There is an expected way that when an audience sits down to hear a story, like a feature length film, or they expect things to happen. They expect to be introduced to a character who's in a place, and then that person has a want or desire, and goes after that want or desire, um, and blah 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 blah. I almost lost what I was talking about there, but I think that the hero's journey, the 8 sequence story structure, tends to create the same story, and you should really tell the story whatever way you want. But like I was saying, that's what I meant to say. Your audience will expect the story to be laid out a certain way. Like they're gonna expect to meet a character. When they meet that character, they're gonna expect that person to be the main character that they're gonna follow through. And in the setting, they're gonna see the setting that they are. They're either gonna be familiar with it or they're not. You're gonna explain it to them, or you won't. Um, and then there will be a change in that setting as that person goes after whatever they're going after, and there'll be this new setting that they have to adapt to. Blah blah blah. It's this whole thing that people expect to see when they see a movie. And the 8 sequence hero's journey story structure does really plan that out. And it is kind of the way that historically, like even since Greek times, people have um, digested stories. And that's how we just accept stories. Like we need this part, and then we need this part, and then we need this part, and then we need this part for it to be a good story for a human being. But in the beginning, I really think you should tell whatever story that you want to, and then maybe, if need be, put it into that structure. But I think you should kind of stay away from structure and stay away from steadfast rules in the beginning because they can really stifle all your creativity and make all your stuff just cookie cutter. And there are thousands, if not tens of thousands, of screenwriters in the world writing cookie cutter things, and that's why there's tens of thousands of screenwriters in the world, because they're writing the same thing. You've got to write something different to get noticed, or something very, very interesting. Blacklist is interesting. 20 ways to screen film courage. If you want answers to this question, stop writing the story. Story maps. It's really all just ways of. Let's just check this out real quick because I. The Blacklist is a very interesting website that everybody should know about.
Blacklist. For those of you who don't know, the Blacklist is a website where you can upload your screenplay and have it evaluated by the readers. You know, it's kind of like a coverage service or what have you. The thing about the Blacklist, though, is that it's supposed to also be like a resource for writers and their screenplays to get discovered. And it has an interesting pedigree because the Blacklist actually started off as an actual list created by Franklin Leonard. And pretty much it was a list of screenplays, like the most liked screenplays that had been circulating the industry that year. Now, it wasn't the best screenplays, it's just the most liked screenplays, the ones that agents and managers and producers and whomever else enjoyed reading, they enjoyed the script, and then like come the end of the year, some way, somehow, they voted, the votes were tallied, and this list was put out. Now, it was just an industry thing at first, but then it kind of grew in notoriety, and people, were finding out about the Blacklist, and it became a thing. And it became, very prestigious as a writer to have your script on the Blacklist. Now, getting your script on the Blacklist didn't guarantee that the script would get made. And if it were made, it didn't guarantee that the film would be a box office hit. But people took notice if you, as a writer, landed a script on the Blacklist. It became a goal for many writers. And eventually, the Blacklist grew from just this industry insider thing into this website where anyone with screenwriting dreams could upload their script and have it evaluated. And if it hit a certain score, it would some way, somehow be put on the radar of new writers and new scripts. Now, the way to get on like this radar, the way to get any attention was to get a score of 8 or above. Here is where my skepticism came into play. What on earth would incentivize a Blacklist reader to give a screenplay an 8? Why would the site do that? Whereas I could give you a 7. You'd be like, wow, so close. Well, maybe if I make the suggested changes and resubmit and pay another fee, I can get that 8. Thing is, what I kind of always thought has always seemed to jibe with the stories that I hear or read about, just that, someone, they get a score on the Blacklist and they make changes or they do whatever and they resubmit, they get a different score. Sometimes it's higher, sometimes it's lower, but again, they're paying the evaluation fee again and again and again. And the other thing is that in order to have your script evaluated, you have to have the script hosted on.
That's the thing, is that, and this is nothing to do with the Blacklist. I guess it does have to do with the Blacklist, but if you're paying somebody to evaluate your screenplay or critically, if you're paying somebody to read your screenplay, you're not paying them for them to say, this is great. You're paying them for them to write notes on it and come back with things that you need to change. So I think people submit their screenplays to readers and thinking that they're going to get something back that says, this is awesome, just 10, 10, 10, you did great. That's not the job of the person who's reading your screenplay. That person, if they want to keep their job, needs to criticize your screenplay or you're not paying them to do anything. You're not paying them to read it and say that's great. You're paying them to read it and say what's wrong with it.
Their website, and that is yet another fee. So Blacklist is making a decent amount of change off of aspiring screenwriters. I'm not knocking the hustle. make that money. I just did not see the Blacklist as a realistic path to my screenwriting dreams. Having said that, I decided that this was going to be the year that I was going to put myself and my work out there more, which means doing things that I've kind of looked at askance, such as entering contests, applying for fellowships, and doing things like hosting my screenplay on the Blacklist and getting an evaluation.
Yeah.
The reason I put my screenplay on the Blacklist, well, there are two reasons. One reason is
I believe I still have 2 screenplays on the Blacklist that I uploaded there. I paid for one evaluation, which is, it's not on our website yet, but I added it to our website. And I like the evaluation. I like it a lot. It's a very good evaluation, and it's something that I would use if I were going to try to sell that screenplay. And I would just say that, yeah, the changes that they've requested that they thought that I needed to make in there, I think they were all correct, and I think I would actually make them. So the evaluation is not cheap. I don't remember how much it was, but I did like it. I did find value in it.
I've already gotten 2 evaluations from another service, and those evaluations were pretty good. I liked the feedback that I got from those readers, but that was from like one service. Even though the feedback came from 2 different readers, it was still from like the same service. I wanted to get feedback from someone else, as it were. Second reason is that while I may have skepticism about the Blacklist, I don't view it as a scam. You get what I'm saying? They have their business model. It is what it is. But they're also highly regarded in the industry. Its founder, Franklin Leonard, he's worked in the industry. He's well known. He gives talks. He's an industry powerhouse. He's not someone who doesn't know what he's talking about. The Blacklist is a trusted name within the industry and the screenwriting community. So when they partner up with other companies, entities, like what have you, to present what does seem like viable opportunities, then I feel like that's something to pay attention to. That's something that I'm going to pay attention to. And that's what they're currently doing. It's kind of like they've got like this, like fellowship, not mentorship, but it's just kind of like a thing with the studio, like a real studio, an actual Hollywood studio, where they're taking a look at screenplays, focusing on diverse and underrepresented writers. And it's just kind of like, yeah, if your screenplay gets chosen, then perhaps you'll work with the studio and blah, 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 blah.
Just so you know, this video came out 4 years ago. I think it's still pertinent 3 years ago. So that might not still be going on.
At the end of the day, it is a real opportunity. Why not take the chance?
Sure.
However, in order to submit for this opportunity, to apply, however you want to put it, you have to host your script on the Blacklist and pay for an evaluation. Yeah. So I finally decided, you know what? After years of kind of looking at them and just being like, I don't know. This is my Dave Chappelle face. I decided to put my script on the Blacklist. So I did that, paying for the monthly hosting, and I paid for an evaluation. So now satisfied the terms for entry into this contest, for lack of a better word, it's a contest, to be seen by the studio, boom. I was curious to see what my score would be, what the evaluation would be, and well, shit, I got I got my score back recently. I did not get the esteemed score of 8. It's like out of 10, 8 out of 10. Instead, I got a 6 out of 10.
I think I got a 6.
To be honest, I'm not mad at that. I'm actually just kind of like, okay, yeah, it is what it is. What I found interesting were the differences in opinion between the Blacklist reader and the readers with We Screenplay, just in terms of feedback and everything. I mostly got scores of 6 in some of the categories. My highest score was in setting. The Blacklist reader gave me a 7 out of 10 for the setting of my script. They felt that it was the perfect environment for the story that I was trying to tell, especially with this being a horror script. My lowest score, and this
Plot.
honestly surprised me, was characters. I
Ah,
got a 5 out of 10. They felt that some of the characters were a little samey. That's fine. That's actually fair, I would say. But yeah, they felt that despite good chemistry between my two main characters, their initial meet was a little too much. They felt that some of the dialogue was a little,
so
you know,
I I think I got a 6, and my biggest complaint was my plot because I did this thing where it was a sci-fi movie, sci-fi feature film, screenplay, sorry, where somebody gets basically sucked into the universe of a video game. So while they're in this video game universe, other things are going on in there back at home, back in Denver. They're on the planet, or in this other universe, Verdurus, and here's Denver. And I kept going back and forth between the two, saying, this was happening here while this was happening here. And they were like, it's killing the continuity. Once your character gets to Verdurus, just keep her there. And I was like, okay, don't come back. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. It's an easy fix. So my lowest score was plot because of that, but my highest score was character, and I was psyched for that because she just liked the way the characters worked, or they just liked the way the
weird,
characters worked.
which I felt was kind of the point. I mean, I'm trying to make this, I was trying to write, horror comedy. I wanted the dialogue to be pretty silly, but I guess, the dialogue wasn't their cup of tea, and that led to, them not really caring for the characterization. And why that's surprising to me is that in the previous evaluations, the characters were cited as like a strong point of the script. This also lets you know, kids, that these evaluations, people's opinions, like it's all subjective. One person can love your characters, and another person can feel that they don't work. Overall, though, the feedback from the Blacklist reader was positive. Or at least I am positively receiving the feedback because it just, it helps me know what perhaps I should work on, what I
Mm-hmm.
should focus on. One of the things that the reader mentioned were like the commercial prospects for the script. And they said that with some work, especially the characters, the script could be strengthened, but there's always an audience for this type of material, especially with the wealth of streaming platforms and all the stuff that we have now. But the reader did say this story has a strong base, and
So, well, this is exactly how I had mine set up. It says, okay, though it may not be the most unique sort of narrative, Blank has enough elements that may intrigue producers and production companies. There is always an audience for zombie creature features, and they have only become more apparent with the rise of streaming platforms. While there is some work to be done, especially with the characters, there is a strong base here. If produced, the film could find success theatrically or on a streaming service with horror fans. Um, I when I was submitting my screenplays and when I was talking to agents and when I was entering every contest under the sun, literally, um, and going to stage 32 every day and going to roadmap writers every day, um, I was, I had a Tommy gun, just a semi automatic or, sorry, horrible use of words. I just littered I everywhere, anywhere I could, I put my screenplay. Just anywhere I could, I put my screenplay. Um, or put my face in front of people. If there was a live stream that I could do where I could sit and my face would be in front of people, I was there. I was doing everything I could. I figured get in front of everybody, and then I was like, okay, it feels like I'm just really spreading myself thin. I was like, go after people, pick somebody and just go after that person. Just keep hitting that person. Just keep going back to that person. So you become a familiar person with that person, and now they know your work. And now without even really forming a relationship with that person, um, they are they know who you are. They know what you do. And they can see you getting better. They can see progress. If you keep submitting to the same entity, they're going to get to know you. It's like if you went to the same bar every night, those people get to know you instead of going to a different bar every night where no one would ever know you. Familiarity, I think, is key here, especially when you're dealing, especially if you're not in LA and your face is not out there. You need to get your face in front of these people. And it can be very expensive, but you can also find um, a lot of free opportunities as well to do it. So with the blacklist, what I would say is I would say depending on the cost of the evaluation, I would submit to the blacklist. I would put as much stuff on the blacklist as I could, as long as it was good. You know, don't put garbage up there. Um, and I would get it evaluated as much as I could and get it reevaluated because that is a reputable organization that you can get a foot into if you if you submit and resubmit and resubmit and resubmit, and all of a sudden they're like, I know Mike Rogers. Why do I know that name? Because he's constantly at your door with new material. Constantly getting new evaluations, constantly trying to do his stuff. Um, I'd say the same thing about the website Stage 32. The only thing about Stage 32 is that there's like 100,000 people doing the same thing. Um, so you can get lost in the numbers there. But I would say if you find an organization that you can keep banging on the door and it's not going to cost you $1,000 a month, might be a good idea. It might be a better idea to to knock on the same door than 1,000 doors.
And could see some theatrical or streaming success. That made me feel good. I'm taking that shit. I'm just like, okay, yeah. Now, am I going to spend more money on another evaluation from the blacklist? Probably not. Probably not. Probably take that money and enter another contest or get an evaluation from a different service. But I'm glad that I got the experience with the blacklist just so that now I can say that I did it, but speak about it from experience. Not much has changed as far as like my feeling about it. Like, you know, I feel like there are people that they're going to pay for evaluation after evaluation, chasing that mythical 8 or higher in hopes of getting on that blacklist radar so that someone can scoop in and say, hey, let me sign you, let me rep you, let me buy this and make it. And I just personally don't think that that's going to happen. The screenwriting journey is a whole lot of fun, kids.
Let's watch. Let's go on. Let's keep. So we got to do this. We got to come down here. We have to subscribe. This is J Fingers from 3 years ago. We got to give him a like. Go back. Okay, well, here we go. Okay, so I like how we're getting stuff that's curated, kind of what we just watched. So listen, I spent $600 on screenwriting competitions in 1 month, and this is what happened. Okay, I've done this. At least $600 in a month. I've spent like $1,000 in a month easily.
I spent slightly more than $600 on screenwriting competition.
Okay, so there are websites out there. We'll look at them before after this video. She'll probably even mention them, but there are thousands of screenplay contests. If you wanted to make a little money, start a screenplay contest. You don't have to have any accreditation. You don't have any history of doing screenwriting. There's a lot in India that you could do. They're everywhere. They are literally everywhere, and a lot of them, I'd say 95% of them, are um, have no film festival attached to them, have no actual award attached to it. You might get something, an email sent with like a paper certificate. Um, no notoriety, no credibility. The only thing you can do is stick that. They'll send you a little thing. Every screenplay contest is going to have a little symbol for their screenplay and a wreath like symbol. And if you win or come in first or come in second, I I placed in so many of these things. I won a few. I won more than a few. Placed in a ton, and I had like over 100 of those little um, wreaths that you'll see on screenplays. Gamer Girl alone had like 30 because I did this. I entered every screenplay contest under the sun because for 1 year, I all I did was from the moment I woke up to it was like 13 hours a day. It was not healthy. 13 hours a day I did screenwriting. I watched videos on screenwriting. I wrote. I chased producers, agents, everything. It was all do it yourself. It was all self taught. So I was wasting a lot of time. I'm hoping to save you a lot of time in doing these live streams and stuff. Um, because I did this, and you can waste a lot of time and a lot of money. If she got a result out of this, I'd be very proud of her.
Competitions at the end of February. That's a lot of money. I'm making this video because I wish I saw something like this before I decided to part ways with my hard-earned cash. Stick around to the end and I'll explain the approach I'll be using going forward. But let's first start with why I entered so.
The other thing too is that when you come home at the end of the day, you do things. You play a video game, you play solitaire, you smoke pot, you gamble, who knows, you go for a drink, whatever. We all have things that we do to work and relax, but when you chase something like this and you're not working and all you're doing is this, you get obsessive and you start spending money. If you have the money, you start spending it obsessively, like nuts, and you are pouring money out with no result.
Many screenwriting competitions. Honestly, it's because there are so many options. The marketing for these screenwriting competitions are enticing. Subject headings like, "We want to fly you to LA," or "It's your time now." And never mind the big names that they drop that are going to judge the competitions. Having these sorts of industry experts read your screenplay is enough to get anyone excited. So the opportunity behind all of this is definitely a reason why I entered my screenplays to these competitions. But tied very closely to the opportunity was a deadline. I've been writing screenplays on and off since 2016, but this was the year that I decided that I was going to focus and stick to my goal. So deadlines meant that I had to do the work. So I'll give credit where it's due. The competitions I entered all had closing dates within days of each other, and this was the motivation I needed to start the year strong. So because there were so many options, I ended up entering my screenplay to a variety of competitions across multiple companies.
I think I've entered every one of those. Austin, yes. Final Draft, yes. I might not have done Final Draft because I think you had to do it on Final Draft software, and I didn't own Final Draft. Scriptapalooza, yes. Screenplay, I'm not quite sure. Story Pros, yes. Nichols Fellowship, yes. Sundance, yes. Blue Cat, yes. Slam Dance, yes. Script Pipe, these are the big ones. Script Pipeline, yes. Finish Line, Sundance, Atlanta, Austin, Humanitarians, New Voices, that one's in New York. That one's a little LA Shorts. These are the big ones. These are the ones that would definitely like advertise a lot and they're expensive.
Played to a variety of competitions across multiple companies. I entered the standard feature film screenplay competitions, I entered a career accelerator, and I also entered a variety of pitch competitions across multiple companies. So in terms of deadlines, competitions get 10 out of 10. I guess they could serve a similar purpose to somebody maybe hiring a personal trainer, a consultant, or a coach to hold them accountable. I mean, if you're spending money on something, you're likely to see it through. So even though it was pricey, I stuck to the deadlines and I was amazed how much writing I could get done in a short amount of time. Now, here's what I wish I knew before I entered these competitions, and I'm going to list these points quickly because it feels like a bit of a rant. And like I said, if you're looking for a deadline, competitions are awesome. But here are the negatives. Now, some of these competitions advertise impressive judges, but there's no guarantee that these industry experts are going to see your screenplay for the first few rounds. You may get somebody who is fairly new to the world of screenwriting judging the first few rounds of your work, You may get somebody reading a screenplay who's having a bad day, someone who doesn't enjoy your voice, or you may just get somebody who is overloaded with the amount of screenplays that they have to read that they just skim through yours. Oh, and I've seen this too. This is my least favorite. You may have somebody read your screenplay who is clearly on a high horse, ignoring everything that you're trying to do with your screenplay, giving you feedback on their vision and how you should rewrite your screenplay to match their vision. All of this said, you may also get somebody who is completely in tune with your vision. You could get a reader that not only understands what it is that you're trying to do, but their feedback could build on your story, making it better, but also providing a new energy, getting you pumped to rework your script.
That happened to me at Sundance? Was it Sundance? It was a big one. And my first reader loved it. It was some competition where you got like a preliminary review before you knew if you got in or not. And my preliminary review was like, this is so epic, blah blah blah. I love it. I can't oh, it's like epic poetry, blah 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 blah. And then nothing. And then it was like boom, just nope, you didn't know. And I was like, but what about all these beautiful things this woman had to say? They were like, we don't care about that.
Screenplay to get it to the next level. I mean, you can even get a combination of great and awful feedback all in the same competition as you progress through different rounds. Or you could do incredibly well in one competition and have that exact same screenplay not even make it through the first round of another competition. And just when you think you've heard it all, you haven't, because there are times when you even get no feedback. Yes, for some competitions, feedback isn't an option. That's the worst. No, the worst is still that reader who tries to write through you, making you change your entire screenplay to match their vision. That's the worst. I digress. But my point here is that for most competitions, and yes, there are some exceptions, but it seems that
But the worst thing that can happen to you is what happened to me. Is I wrote a screenplay. I sat down, said I'm gonna write a screenplay. I had never written it before. I didn't take any classes or anything. I just watched YouTube videos and I wrote a screenplay and I entered it into a contest, not the Austin Film Festival, but in Austin, Texas, and I won. And not only I didn't win. They said you're one of the three people who are going to win. So we need you to come down because one of the three of you is going to win. But we also want you to talk. We're going to have you on the panel, the screenwriting panel, and we want you to talk at the festival. I'd never written a screenplay before. I had no idea what I had done. I had no idea why was it going on the panel. I had no idea anything. And it was worst because I didn't know where to go. I didn't get any real feedback. I just kept entering that screenplay into other contests and winning sometimes and not even getting in other times, and just lost. It was like I felt like I had accomplished something, but I didn't know what I had accomplished, and I didn't know what the next step was.
Competitions are a space where you need to pay to play. Majorities of these companies say that you are not penalized if you do not pay for additional feedback. But there's nothing more confusing than not opting for feedback and then having no idea why it is that your screenplay is progressing or isn't progressing in these competitions. The one competition I entered this year, I didn't select the feedback option, and I made it all the way to the semifinals. It was confusing because I don't know why it made it to the semifinals. I'm grateful, but it never made it to the finals, and I also don't know why. If anybody from a screenwriting competition company is watching this, I think it could be a nice idea to set through the results of how the screenplays were scored and then offer additional feedback as an add-on. The fact that we have to pay extra for our scores is kind of odd. I feel that I would be more inclined to re-enter some competitions if there was just better communication from the companies. I understand paying for feedback, but scoring? Come on, guys. Surely this cost can be covered in the initial fee that we pay when we enter the screenwriting competition in the first place. So the point of these competitions is to meet with representation or executives in the industry. And even though I didn't make it past the first round in some competitions, I made it to the semi-finals in another competition, but I also got the ultimate goal of receiving a recommend in another competition. Yay! This was a dream come true mixed with unbelievably helpful feedback. But even though I reached my ultimate goal of getting to the point where my screenplay would be released into the industry, being marketed on my behalf, I could have never predicted the writer's strike to happen and then everything to be put on pause. Okay,
Wow.
rewind a second. My ultimate goal is actually to sell the screenplay. I digress. But my point here is that you could even win a competition and have nothing happen due to factors out of your control and out of the competition company's control as well. But let's take a step back and get some perspective. Depending how you look at it, I could have spent $600 on accountability, or I could have gambled $600 on a dream. That's scary. But here's how I look at it and plan for it. Every month I have a certain amount of money that goes off my account into a screenwriting fund. Now this fund is for all of my screenwriting expenses, whether it's competitions, consultations, whatever expenses I have relating to screenwriting. This is an amount of money I have saved up and allocated for screenwriting. And I'm mentioning this not as financial advice, but I have seen people who have a big dream and then they bet on it and they go into debt as a result. So even though I did spend a lot of money, and going back, I probably would have done a lot differently. But my point is that I did save for it and I didn't go into debt. And then, as the saying goes, sometimes you have to kiss a lot of frogs before you find your prince. I guess if
I didn't make a dime either, not a dime. So any money I got in, there was no return on my investment.
I didn't try entering so many different competitions from a variety of companies, I would have never landed on the company that saw my screenplay get that recommend, which will see my screenplay being marketed after the writer's strike is over. Like I said just now, the goal is to sell my screenplay. And if I do, then it may have been $600 well spent. Now, you've probably picked up that I haven't named any companies, and there's a reason behind that, because what might have been a complete miss for me could be a hit for you. However, once my journey is wrapped up with the company who is likely to market my screenplay once the writer's strike is over, then I might shed a bit more light on that company, because the experience I had there has been like nothing I've experienced before. The feedback was incredible, the communication was incredible. Overall, it's just been a wonderful experience, but I don't want to jump the gun. I'm going to let the whole experience ride out, and then I will maybe shed some light on them. So subscribe for updates. Anyway, this
In third grade, she was starting to struggle in math.
I was like really frustrated like with some of the problems.
Remember, the whole thing equals 16 and we cut it into 8, right? She always comes in with a smile on her face. She's always willing to work really hard.
10 times 10?
She really
at the start of the video, I did mention how my approach has changed, and I will share what I will be doing going forward. And the first thing is that I don't feel like I need to pay for screenwriting competitions to get the deadlines I need in order to get to work on my screenplays. And I'm also not putting my hope in these screenwriting competitions to help me break into the industry. If they work for you, go for it. But here's what has been working for me. I dedicate a small amount of time to work on my screenplay 4 days a week. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to join me for a month of dedicating 1 hour a day, 4 days a week to work on your screenplay. Maybe we could do a fun challenge together of writing a screenplay in a month. Let me know down below if this is something you'd be interested in joining. Sometimes I'll create challenges where I will spend more than an hour 4 days a week, but typically it's around 1 to 2 hours 4 days a week that I work on my screenplay. And the first thing that I
So we're doing
is I form.
Sorry, I hate pausing when people don't look attractive. We're going to be doing a class through Vision Mage Entertainment, where we will be meeting 3 times a week for 3 hours at a time. And the idea is we'll take 9 students, and in 1 month, which is going to be 3 classes a week, 3 hours a class for 4 weeks, the idea is to create a feature screenplay. And the idea is to not fill your head with a lot of structure or rules. The basic stuff, like how to structure a screenplay, how to write a screenplay, how to keep your actions tight and short, how to keep your dialogue short and tight, stuff like that. The basics we're going to work on. But as far as your creativity, we're not going to be doing hero's journeys. We're not going to be doing story circles or anything like that. We're just going to let you go. And then we're going to fit it into that format. We're going to put it into that, the dialogue and, the way that, just the way the technical document works. But I don't want, to begin with, for your first couple of screenplays, I think you should just really uh, make sure that you're harnessing your creativity rather than trying to write a technical document, because you have to do both at the same time. So yeah, I just think that we would be doing 3-hour classes 3 times a week. The reason we're going to be doing 3-hour classes 3 hours a week is basically what's going to happen is, as you're writing your screenplay, you're going to be reading your screenplay back to us. So each time that we have a class, the next class, you're going to come back with what you've written. You're going to read that. You're going to get evaluations from everybody else in the class, 9 other people and myself. And then on Sundays, you get, every individual in the class will get private hours with me, just to go over the screenplay. We'll do an hour for each person on Sundays. So yeah, and it's for beginners and intermediate screenplay writers. When you get into screenwriting, what you're going to find is that if you want to write feature screenplays, and some maybe get them made into movies at some point, people are going to be looking for 3 feature screenplays from you, 3 polished feature screenplays from you. So you need to be writing feature screenplays. But I don't think that you need to be writing cookie cutter screenplays. I think you need to be writing the most creative stuff, especially in the beginning. The most creative stuff that you possibly can. And then we'll kind of work it in, we'll massage it into that technical format that is the screenplay. So that you can express yourself as a screenplay writer, and not like the 100,000 screenwriters who are out there who are just doing the hero's journey. That 8, this happens and this happens and this happens and this happens. I think in general, we might evolve out of that storytelling. I think we've heard it enough.
Form an outline. So once I've got an outline, I will then book a consultation with an industry expert, and then we will go through my outline, and she will then point out any holes I have in my story and provide me with feedback. In more than an hour, 4 days a week. I did mention how my approach has changed, and I will share what I will be doing going forward. And the first thing is that I don't feel like I need to pay for screenwriting competitions to get the deadlines I need in order to get to work on my screenplays. And I'm also not putting my hope in these screenwriting competitions to help me break into the industry. If they work for you, go for it. But here's what has been working for me. I dedicate a small amount of time to work on my screenplay 4 days a week. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to join me for a month of dedicating 1 hour a day, 4 days a week to work on your screenplay. Maybe we could do a fun challenge together of writing a screenplay in a month. Let me know down below if this is something you'd be interested in joining. Sometimes I'll create challenges where I will spend more than an hour 4 days a week, but typically it's around 1 to 2 hours 4 days a week that I work on my screenplay. And the first thing that I do is I form an outline. So once I've got an outline, I will then book a consultation with an industry expert, and then we will go through my outline, and she will then point out any holes I have in my story and provide.
I'd love to know where she's booking that through, because she just said, "Oh yeah, I just booked that with some industry expert to go over my outline." That's not completely available unless that's the industry. She said that she won a screenplay and that got her involved with a company, and this person might be attached somehow to the. He's definitely paying for this, unless it's attached to the screenplay contest that she won, or she's represented by a company. She's paying for this, unless she's represented. But I'm pretty sure she's paying for this little consultation here. Well, this little setup she's got.
Provide me with feedback that will help me re-outline my story and get it to a place where I am ready to jump into writing the first draft of my screenplay. So in the past, to get some motivation to get that first draft out quickly, I would enter a screenwriting competition that would serve as my deadline. But these days, I don't do that anymore. What I now do is I have a table read. So I will set a deadline. I will invite a whole bunch of friends, family, or actors over, And that is a scary enough deadline, knowing that people are coming over and they're going to be reading my screenplay. So I want to get that first draft to the best place that it can possibly be before I share it with others. After the table read, I will present my actors with a little sheet of paper that has some questions on it. Basically, I just want to find out if there were any parts of the story that they didn't understand. And after reviewing their feedback, I will go back and attempt to write my second draft. And once I have my second draft completed, I'll then book another session with my industry expert, and we will then go through the second draft of my screenplay. I'll get more feedback on how I can tweak it, and then I'll go back and write another draft. Personally, I found that I enjoy working with one person, so having one screenplay consultant giving me feedback on my screenplay is far better than inviting a whole bunch of different voices to pass judgment on my screenplay. So once my screenplay gets to the point where it is ready to be let loose in the world, I feel that the appropriate next step is to get it in front of decision makers, whether that's representation, an executive, producer. But this is a space where I am still embracing that hectic learning curve. There are companies that help with screenwriters building a brand, and I am going to be looking into this and investigating the next steps with regards to marketing myself to decision makers, and I will be sharing that. So subscribe if you would like to see more of this part in my journey. So as you can see, my focus has changed completely. Where I originally relied on competitions, and now rely on myself to get my screenplay to the best place it can possibly be, and then get it in front of the right eyes myself. It's a new approach, but more so than that, I'm thrilled that I finally started focusing on my craft without needing validation from people in the competition circuits. This has been empowering. So I hope this video has been valuable to you, and if it has, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you'd like to see more content from me in the future. I'll leave a video for you in the end screen that I think you'll enjoy if you enjoyed this one. So see you in the next video. Take care, guys. Bye bye.
That was, my browser is wicked slow. It's not the computer. Okay, we're not watching Script Fella. Go back. So it was Marguerite. We subscribed, and this was 9 months ago. Let's go check out her channel real quick. What time is it? 8:52. I started a little late. Why Netflix and Pain Hustler are a strategic pairing. Formatting explained. Insights revealed. I studied Nancy Meyer's movies for a month. Here's what I learned from her screenplays. Okay. Let's go find something else. We screenplay coverage of my latest script. 1 month. Let's check it out.
Lights, camera, action!
So I'm just leaving FedEx office where I picked up the script that I told y'all I just finished. And then Buddy called me the non-writingest black man on the internets. Shout out to my man working the desk at FedEx. He was like, "Is this a TV pilot?" I was like, "No, it's a feature screenplay." He was just like, "Good luck, man. Good luck." I was like, "Thank you. Thank you." Shout out to the folks, the good folks at FedEx office. Yeah, I made it home just in time because it is pouring now. Oh man, I fucking hate the rain. Poor J Fingers. Poor J Fingers hates the rain.
Get to it.
Yeah, I really do though. I really do. So if you the first draft. But when I went back and
Sorry.
Nels, let me share with y'all my plans for Azalea. So when it comes to Azalea, I'm feeling really good about it actually. I wasn't sure about it when I finished the first draft. But when I went back and reread and did the rewrite and everything, I realized that there was a lot there. There's a lot of good there. So I made the decision to submit it, to send it to We Screenplay for their coverage service. But what I discovered is that they have a new tier, which is like a first draft tier. Like, this did not exist when I last used We Screenplay, and admittedly, it's been a while. It's probably been like more than a year since I've used We Screenplay's coverage service. But they've now added this tier where it's like a first draft tier. It's their least expensive package. It's like $60. You only get like about a page and a half of notes. The reader will like craft or try to craft a log line for you, so that's good. But it's really just a page and a half of notes, just to let you know, like what's working, what isn't, areas you could focus on, things of that nature. You don't get a pass, consider, or recommend score. They don't do that. And I think that that's smart because when you see that, I don't know, you kind of feel like, is this what a development executive or producer, is this how they would feel about this script? If they got it, would they pass on it? And I feel like what this level of coverage does, instead of like putting that in your mind, it's just really just trying to show you like what you should focus on. Again, what's working, what isn't. I have total faith in We Screenplay. I've used them several times before. They came recommended by my ex mentor, which is why I started using them. And I think they're fantastic. So I decided to send Azalea this like first draft, this rewritten first draft. I sent it to them. I actually did that last night. It takes a while. Like, their turnaround time is 72 hours. I feel like the last time I did this though, like I got the feedback like right away, like almost like, within like 24 hours or so. I'm not expecting that. But if it happens, it happens. But yeah, turnaround is like 72 hours. So I am looking forward to what the reader has to say. Another thing about We Screenplay, yeah, I just want an opinion. I do want someone else's eyes on this. Now, I've got other couple of like trusted readers, people who expressed interest in reading it a long time ago, and other people who I just, trust their opinion, trust that they won't like blow smoke up my ass and be like, gee, this is the best thing ever. Like, I don't want that. I want an honest opinion. What do you think? Again, what's working, what isn't? Is this a story even worth telling? So, one of the things that, I like about We Screenplay, because I do trust them, because I do like the feedback that I've gotten before, I trust that, this is someone who doesn't know me. This is going to be,
Mm-hmm.
as impartial a read
Yeah, that's the
as I'm
thing.
going to get, at least right
Asking
now.
people that
So
you know
yeah,
to read stuff,
I am looking
it's a big
forward
ask.
to the opinion of a stranger on this script that I poured my heart and soul in, that took a long time to write. Took too long for some of y'all, to the fact that some of y'all called me that, what, I'm not even gonna I'm not even gonna get into that again. But yeah, like, this was a difficult script to write, and kind of wondering if it's worth it.
3 days later.
So I did get feedback from We Screenplay on Azalea. And this is interesting, like I mentioned, like this is a new tier. This is what they call like their first draft tier. So it's not really like the pass, consider, recommend sort of coverage that they normally give. This is just more, just kind of like broad thoughts, a broad overview of like, the reader's opinion on the script, what works, what doesn't, etc. So as far as what works, This is what they have to say, and I'm just going to read this in full. Azalea is a very original story that definitely covers new narrative ground with its setting and the awareness it raises of elderly abuse. Due to this, the project is more than entertainment, as it addresses real life issues that are not discussed on the silver screen nearly enough. This is because we are offered thought provoking substance that stimulates us for an active viewership. It also has a lingering effect on us after turning the final page, suggesting the project can really make a change. The themes explored are universal subject matters, too, that do not require specific trends, social climates, or an audience with a niche interest to resonate, which means the story will touch many. In fact, it offers a ton of heartbreaking moments that help the work elicit a lot of emotion. Okay, positives. Those are positives.
Very positive.
But in their section of changes to consider, they do feel that the theme that I'm exploring of elder abuse could be explored in a lot more depth. And they just give suggestions as to certain elements or scenes that could be fleshed out, or even, character relationships that could be fleshed out. Some of these ideas I think are good, that they have merit. Some of them not so much, simply because I wanted certain scenes or certain events to have an impact. God, I hate using that word like that. I hate using impact like that, but
Huh.
but
Okay.
you guys get what I mean. Like, I wanted these scenes and I wanted these events and how they affect the characters, especially my main character. I wanted to have an impact. So some things I just don't show right away. That's what I mean. We see the after effect of what happens. But one of
Oh,
their
yeah.
suggestions is to maybe show some of this stuff. And again, I'm not opposed to this. I think that there are some scenes, there are some elements that I can flesh out. So yeah, absolutely. Another thing they say is that aside from the story's dramatic question of if the main character will protect his mother from elderly abuse, the general conflict and central theme are resolved at the end of the second act. And this is something that I kind of worried
Resolved?
about, because in my mind I knew I wanted to structure it like this. And I was kind of afraid of this, where people would think at the end of the second act, oh, like it's done.
We're
Like,
done.
like that's the conclusion of the story. But then it continues on into the third act. And that's because the story isn't finished. The story is about
Well,
this man's relationship with his
you
mother.
didn't stick to the
And so
traditional.
that's why the story
fine.
continues past, what this reader felt was the conclusion. Because the overall story is about the main character and his mother. So they do say that, those having seen the first premise as compelling may lose interest and feel misled, while those looking for the latter will have to wait too long until they can enjoy it. So I'm thinking what I just need to do is just kind of like take what's explored in the third act and just really kind of make it more prominent in the first and second act. Which is something that I thought I did. I'm not gonna lie, like, I really did think that that element was prominent in the first and second act, so that when the third act concludes, it wraps up and it is a satisfying conclusion. They also say that, some of the other characters deserve their own respective subplots. And again, this just goes back into like showing some of those elements. Um, the reader suggests that, I show like what happened instead of just kind of like revealing the aftermath. And so that's, again, like that's a suggestion that I'm on board. Like, that's a note that I can take and be like, okay, yeah, I can see how this would improve the script. So again, that's something that I'm going to take and work on. And the last note I find interesting, because they say essentially we're not told anything about the characters. And I feel like I try to reveal the nature of the relationships between these characters over the course of the script. Like, I'm not going to hit you over the
Yeah.
head, with some obvious stuff like, my main character is the family outcast, or this
Yeah, sure.
character,
Can't-
this is why they are
can't
evil.
say that, sure.
I'm not going to hit you over the head with that, like, in an obvious way. It's something that I try to show gradually
Sad, but
throughout the
kind of
script.
have to.
You get it through dialogue, you get it through interactions. There's a part in the script where someone tells my main character, hey, you got to have kids to add some, so that the family can grow. And someone responds to that statement, kind of sarcastically. That, in my way, is showing that the main character is really an outcast. Like, even though this one person said about, adding to the family, making the family grow, the reaction from this other character lets you know that they don't really consider the main character
Part of the
family.
family.
Like stuff like that. Maybe that's a little too subtle. I mean, maybe I should
Yeah,
like really hammer that home.
you do.
But the thing is, I've always been a writer that trusts, my audience. It's like
Yep.
y'all are smart. You'll get it.
Yeah,
So
your audience is
that's
getting
something
dumber
that
every
I've
day.
got to think on. But maybe that will be revealed, when I flesh out some of these scenes, add some scenes, like whatever. So yeah, this was
I've noticed that in
this was
general that
you know
I've what I've
eye
noticed
opening.
in general that like you do have to dumb it down, and you kind of do have to hit people over the head with it, especially if you're trying to make a point. That I don't know if you can be subtle, and sometimes I'll be watching a critique or a review of a movie, and they'll go over subtleties with me, and I'll be like, did not see that, did not, that just went right over my head, because I don't know if, in general, when you disappear into a movie, right, and you're watching a movie or you're watching a TV show and you're just watching it, you're not thinking about scripts or camera angles or how many cameras are there. Is it multi camera? Is it single camera? You're not thinking about any of that. You're just watching the show. Um, I forgot my point, but damn it, forgot my point.
And yeah, what I love is that look, I'm never looking for super duper
Oh,
positive. Oh
sorry.
my god, this is
That you
perfect. I'm
that you have
not
to
looking
hit.
for that kind of feedback.
That you have to hit people over the head. That you subtlety is going to be wasted on everyone. No one's going to get it unless somebody is really critiquing your film, really critiquing the movie, and being like, "Oh, do you remember in this scene when this happened?" And I really feel like that. Yeah, you gotta let people just do that shit because you just need to. You really do have to come out like if this character is like this, then make it like this character is a blowhard, then make him a blowhard. Like, and I don't mean to make your characters stereotypical, but make sure that they do something early in their make sure that a character does something early in our introduction to them so that we know what type of person that is. Are they cheap? Are they always hitting on women? Are they um, only thinking about going home and making a model? Are they a bookworm? Are they a nerd? Are they a jock? Like we need to know right off the bat who we're dealing with. Um, are they a villain? Are they evil? Are they bad? Are they good? Is it a nun? Is it a snake oil salesman? Whatever. We need to know right up front if this person is a black sheep of the family. It might not be enough just to say that they're not having kids, and then somebody says a point that like, oh well, he's not really part of the family. Like I think that like there's got to be a scene where like the entire family is eating dinner, and then he walks in and he's like just goes to his room, something crazy like that where it doesn't even seem like he's part of the family. Like there's a family event happening and this person just kind of wanders in. That's the black sheep. That's like somebody they don't belong there. They're not part of that family.
Back. I want to know what works, what doesn't, what can I improve upon. And this was my first time using this particular tier of We Screenplays coverage service. So it doesn't get as granular as like other tiers, but this does like I think point me in the right direction. So I've got it out to other people to who are reading it. So once I get feedback from them, I'm just gonna take all that, see what works for me, see what I think will improve the script, and try to incorporate those notes in the next rewrite. And from there, we'll just keep it pushing, just more development and more, more whatever. But I'm feeling really confident in this script. Like, as I've mentioned, this is the first script that I've written that's really like dramatic, not super duper silly, not super duper, just kind of like just overtly comedic. Like, this is really like the closest to, like, I would say, an Oscar bait script that I've ever written, or that I won't say will ever write. Who knows what the future holds? But this is the closest to, like, a serious kind of like issue driven, character driven script that I've ever done. So I'm pleased with the feedback that I got. I felt like it was worth the money. And yeah, like I said, I already told y'all, I'm going to take what I think works, what's applicable, and apply it. Finally, I just. So I'd made an entire video, or rather, I shot an entire video
I didn't
about the film
realize.
American Fiction. My buddy Kenny and I, we saw it back in December, very early on, and we actually got a chance to like meet and speak with the writer and director of American Fiction, Cord Jefferson. Super cool dude. Like, Cord is just an awesome dude. Shout out to Cord, man. We all lived in the same Brooklyn neighborhood years ago. Used to go to like the same bars and everything. Just never met before December. So shout out to him. Shout out also to Jeff Wright, who's the star of American Fiction, and who also lived in the same Brooklyn neighborhood. Jeff and I have met. I've got a funny Jeff story. I'm not going to tell it in this video. Anyway, after seeing American Fiction, Kenny and I, went out for beers. And I was just telling him, I was just like, as much as I loved the film, I saw a little too much of myself and my life in that movie. And what bummed me out wasn't that I saw myself in the movie, but it was that I saw elements of the script that I had been working on in that movie. For me, I was just like, wow, there's some parts in American Fiction that are very close to Azalea. And yeah, I was bummed out about it. And afterward, Kenny sent me an email. And in the email, he says, I was thinking about Azalea and how you were a little discouraged in seeing some of your story's themes played out in American Fiction. I know it sucks. I've been there before too. But I don't think it needs to impede your progress in any way. If anything, just continue to tell the story that is true to you, but be sensitive to your execution. The reason you see the similarities is because it's a universal experience. Just like graduation or childbirth.
Yep.
There's plenty of room to tell your story your way, bro.
Very good
I just
point.
want to say, Kenny, thank you.
Yeah.
Because that gave me a boost. After getting that email, that's really what inspired me to like go back to the computer, boot up Final Draft, and hammer this script out, even though I had like.
There's a screenplay. This has happened to me multiple times where you write something and somebody comes around and writes the exact same thing, and you have no contact with this person whatsoever. I've always believed that the stories, all the stories are already written. We are just the ones who put them down on paper and tell them again. They're all out there, and we're just the ones who sit down and write them and tell them. Because they're all out there, and they all get told over and over and over and over again. And I just had a story that I started where the entire opening scene with a song played. The song starts, scene starts, we've got cameras zooming, we've got drones doing aerial photography as the scene starts, and I get the entire first 10 to 15 minutes of the movie just boom, done in front of me, just played in front of me, like I just watched it, like I just experienced it, like I watched it on television. Somebody else is gonna do that, because it was like lightning. It was like I got struck by lightning. I got struck by this thing, and all of a sudden I'm watching a movie. It made me emotional. Yeah, it was crazy because I saw the whole thing and I heard the song. I can hear the song playing while this movie's going in front of me, and I'm like, this is insanity. And I'm like, how am I going to get the rights to this song? somebody else is going to write that because it's too much in the zeitgeist. You don't get hit with that with a full first 10 minutes of a movie. 15. I mean, they kept going. Um, Out of nowhere without it being also hitting people at the same time.
Like Barbie the dog lady above me. That is what got me out of my most non-rightness black man funk. So Kenny, I appreciate you. Thanks a lot, bro. And I appreciate all of you that are watching this and everything. Seriously, the 98% of y'all who are positive and encouraging, y'all really don't know like how much y'all just really don't know. It's enough to make me want to like go out when it's raining.
Good stuff. Good stuff. That's it. That's all I got for you.
He got 99 problems and the biggest one is me.
Oh, I get called on that. Yeah, that's it. 9:15. So that's all I got for you today. We'll do an hour a night, and maybe if more people come and join us, then we'll extend it out a little bit. Maybe we'll still start doing some writing ourselves on here and entering things into screenplay contests and stuff like that. But definitely in the comments, tell me what you would like to see, and I'll make sure that we watch those videos. But it's fun. It's just, but we had one on outlining. This has been pretty much on entering screenplay contests and getting feedback on your screenplay, which is a great lesson. So yeah, that's all I have for you tonight. Hopefully you guys come and see me again tomorrow. If anyone gets to see this video at all, definitely come back and see me again. And thank you for watching.